Hi there, welcome to this week's episode with me, Nicola. What I wanted to talk with you about today is what we do and how you react when things don't go quite according to plan. So, as you know, I've been running events and speaking at various different places since 2010 officially, probably well before that. One of the funniest things that I think about when people ask me, so, what made you decide to do this? Or, what got you started in your speaking career? And why do you even want to do that? So one of the things that my mum always said was that I could talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles and always have lots and lots of words to say. Teachers at parent-teacher interviews would say to my parents, if Nicola just stopped talking and would concentrate more and apply herself. In report cards, I had things along the same lines. And it's always been something that I have found generally pretty easy to do. I do remember my first big event in 2013. I was running a 4-day event and it was called Sales and Marketing Spy School, and it was lots of fun. It was for entrepreneurs and solo business owners who really wanted to learn how to use social media to get themselves out there in a really big way and reach the people that they wanted to be able to reach. So the kinds of people in the room were allied health professionals, coaches, life coaches. There were some product-based business owners in there, theatre owners. There were quite a few teachers. And when I say teachers, I mean like drama school teachers and music teachers and things like that. So but the gamut was pretty huge, actually. But the thing that united everyone across the board primarily was that they were in a service-based business. So by the time 2013 had rolled around, I'd been working on my own in my own business for 3 years. I was actually employing both of my parents. I had other staff members that I had on my books, and business is going really, really great. Particularly after a couple of years of not doing great. The first couple of years of growing that business were really, really hard. Like any startup, it was really tricky. But for me, putting on this big event was like, all right, I need to make sure that I'm across the syntax. I need to make sure that I have got my running sheets all sorted. I needed and wanted to make sure that I had on the ready too much content and too many things to talk about and go through in case I ended up speaking too much and like either running out of time or finishing too quickly and having time to spare. That was my biggest fear, actually, was like, oh my God, what if I run out of things to say? This is not a problem that I have ever had in my whole entire life, ever. Running out of things to say or not having too much to share. And so it was a really interesting mindset. And I think part of the thing that made me feel really nervous was that it was the first type of event like this that I had ever put on. Other events that I'd run were for people who were already clients of mine, who had already been through programs, and they were doing a 2-day event with me at the end of said program, which was all about marketing and sales and Facebook ads and doing things like in a way that brought new leads into your business. So at this event, it was all about teaching the fundamentals of marketing using human behavior, psychology, and the latest tech stuff that was going on to make sales. Now, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that people were going to walk away with huge and massive value. But I was really more concerned about the storytelling element within that event than I was about anything else. So what I did, I actually scripted out all of my stories. And I scripted out what I was going to say, when I was going to say it. I practiced it. I got it in my body. Because it was coming out of my mouth, it became a lot more intuitive. And so By the time the event rolled around, I felt like I was super prepared. I was ready. I like the content stuff was easy, but I wanted people they were coming to an event called Sales and Marketing Spy School, right? That wasn't like a business 101 event. It had to be something that was big and bold and dramatic and different to any other kind of sales and marketing event that might have been being held at, anywhere around the world actually, but certainly around the country in Australia. And I was so paranoid that things were not going to go according to plan. What happened on, I remember the first day was a Friday, and I had some crew members plus my parents. I had an AV guy up the back doing all the AV stuff. Like, it was a full on production. It cost me, I think that was the other thing that really scared me at that time. So we're talking 2013. It cost me about 40 grand to put on this event. So it was a huge roll of the dice. And one of the things that I was saying to people about this particular event was that there would be absolutely no high pressure sales from the stage happening. The literal proposition that I put to them on the Sunday, so on day 3, was, if you want to come and have a conversation with me about how we can work closer together, let me know and we'll have a chat during one of the sessions where I had another speaker on. Like, that was my pitch. It was like, literally, if you want to have a chat about how we can work together more, let's have a conversation and we can go from there. No pressure. It's all good if you want to say no. So I wasn't standing at the front of the room saying, you've got to run back to the back, go and buy this thing. You get all of these bonuses. You'll save yourself, $5 million if you sign up today. Visa card, MasterCard. I wasn't doing that in this particular event. And the reason for that was that I didn't want to hold back on anything that I was sharing. I wanted to make sure that people were going to be able to walk away with things that they could use. And if they wanted to work further with me, then that's cool. I didn't want them to be or feel manipulated, tricked, or hoodwinked into buying from me. And that, like, from being in the room. So I refused to do what everybody else was doing in the industry at the time. And that served me really well. But what happened on the Friday was we were going through delivering all the content, and that was really awesome. And I actually remember being on stage and after lunch looking at all of this sea of faces and feeling like I had completely and utterly lost them. There's this blank sea of faces looking up at you. And I wasn't sure, because I wasn't experienced with a large group of people who weren't already clients of mine. And I just was like, oh my God, I fucking lost them. I've lost them. What the hell? Like, how did this happen? They hate me. They're not getting it. I remember pushing through the afternoon session and like just leaving at that and being so embarrassed, and I felt really disappointed in myself. I felt like I hadn't that I'd missed the mark, that running these events and speaking just wasn't for me. I was really at odds with what I was seeing, because I knew the content was great, right? So then it had to be about me and the delivery of it. This is why people weren't getting it. Now, that particular night, we had a dress up night. So it was a dress up and drinks night. But I remember going to the room. I had my parents in there with me, and I had my crew people in there with me. And I was like, this is shit. I've lost them. My crew members and my support team were like, no, you're good. They're getting it. They're just thinking, they're processing. I'm like, nah, this is shit. I've gone and invested all of this money on doing these things, and I've lost big time. I don't even think at that point that we'd covered costs with ticket sales. So it was a really big roll of dice for me. what we did, I was like, I don't want to go to this party. I don't want to talk to people. Like, what if they tell me I'm awful? And, I was really beside myself. When we got into the room, so my crew was like, no, you've got to go. I was never not going to go, by the way, but I was just scared about going and facing these people in more of a social situation, which was the whole point, to kind of like defrag and celebrate with them a little bit. And the thing that I did was that we turned up to this party, and I had a red carpet. We had we had drinks. It was such great fun, but it was like red carpet formal party. Like that was the theme for this particular night. And I remember talking to the attendees, like mingling and doing the things and being scared about it. But going and talking to them, and they were like, oh my God, this is just so amazing. This is the best event we've ever been to. And things like, I can't believe how you talked about this, that, and the other. And this thing makes so much sense. And I've never heard things explained in this way. And you make it so simple, and you're so funny, and your stories are great. And all of this other really amazing feedback. And I went back to the room at the end and debriefed with my crew. And I was like, how the hell did I get that so wrong? Like, how were they having fun with this when I felt like I had completely and utterly lost the whole entire room? I actually asked, there was a few of them that I asked, I'm like, oh, so you were sitting there and I wasn't sure if you were concentrating or if I'd lost you. And they're like, no, I was just concentrating and holding on to every single word that you were saying. And I was like, isn't that interesting? So for me, going in the next day was a whole lot easier because I'd had conversations with people about what they were experiencing and what they were getting from this particular event and from the stuff that I was training them in. And I realized for me that I was making this whole flippin' thing all about me, which, it kind of is because it's my event. But actually, what I had to keep reminding myself of was that my job is to show up and deliver the information, deliver the transformation that I promised them and sold them. And how they decide to interpret that and what they decide to do with that is completely up to them, and that's their business. That's not mine. The other thing that I needed to remind myself was that sometimes people's faces aren't a good indication of what's actually going on in between their ears. And it can be really tricky, right? If you're on a Zoom call, or if you are delivering to a virtual room, or if you don't have that external feedback that comes back to you straight away that you are on the money. And so there's been different things that have happened over the years where I've slipped into this, oh my God, they hate me, or oh my God, I'm not delivering, or oh my goodness, I'm not getting it. And I still always ask for the feedback. I always ask, what's the biggest thing that you've taken away from this session? What's the biggest thing that you've taken away from this event? What's the key thing that you're going to implement? What was the thing for you if you had to choose one thing out of what we've done? And it reminds me all the time that people don't always share in the moment the thing that's going on for them. So for you, if you've ever gone to deliver feedback or to deliver a training or to go and do something different and unfamiliar, you can be as prepared as you like with all of the things. Once you've done that though, and you've done the practice, you've done the prep work, and you know that you can do the things that you are saying that you can do, or that you've delivered, that you're delivering on, or that you've sold, then your job is to show up and be the best damn version of you that you can possibly be. And remember that it's not about you now. It's about your audience. It's about your team. It's about the people that you're leading or coaching or guiding, and what they need to get out of it, they will, so long as you're delivering on what it is that you have said that you will deliver. So I think the only other thing that I wanted to share with you about this particular one, in this particular episode rather, is that far too often we forget that the power of the things that we share might feel really very almost like ho hum to us. Do you know what I mean? The thing that you do and the things that you know, 99% of people probably don't even know. The things that you do and know and share and talk about and coach people on or guide people on or lead people with are probably not something that is very known in the world. So it could be like, to use a really silly example, I know how to make a sugar cookie and a fondant cookie now because I've practiced over and over and over and over again. If I met someone down the street tomorrow and I'm like, oh my God, like sugar cookies are just so easy. You just need to do blah, blah, blah. They might be like, oh my goodness, can you give me the recipe? Can you give me the method? Can you talk me through all the things? What happens if this happens? What do you do in this situation? We forget that the things that we know now because we know them are not necessarily the things that everybody knows. So sometimes what you need to share and teach and deliver and lead with are seemingly simple for you, but could be completely life changing and completely motivating and inspiring for somebody else. So don't downplay the things that you know. I hope this has inspired you in some way. I hope this has motivated you in some way to get yourself out there, to go help some people, to have a whole lot of fun doing it. But most of all, the thing that I want you to remember all of the time is that the world is ready for your brand of awesome. My name is Nicola Moras. You can find me at nicolaspeaks.com. You can find me on Instagram, Nicola Moras Speaks. You can find me on LinkedIn. And if you are looking for coaching or training on visibility, then you can also find me at nicolamoras.com.au and the associated platforms with that. I will talk to you soon. Have a great day.